Is EXP in the house? Yeah! My name is Knolly Williams, and I'm here to share with you that you are what you believe. How many of y'all believe that today? You are what you believe. You know, when I got into real estate, I took over 1,000 listings during my first 10 years in this business. And I made my first $1 million at the age of 29. I've done a lot of really cool things. Have a new book out on McGraw-Hill. Never thought that would happen. And in order to do all of that, I had to change what I believed. Because I didn't believe I can do all those things before. How many of you guys, well, don't show your hands, but how many of y'all in your heart, you're like, man, I can't do YouTube. Mike Sherrard can do YouTube. I tell you, when I first started with YouTube, I sucked. And then as I kept doing it, I sucked a little bit less. And eventually I sucked so little that it was actually good. Okay? And that's how it goes. You are what you believe. And I had to change my beliefs in order to get different results. This is Uncle Knolly when he was a little boy. And I was a cute little kid, and I'm a cute little man. All right? But right after these pictures were taken, this is me and my sister, and not long after these pictures were taken, my mom and dad got divorced. And that really broke my heart. Some of you guys know what I'm talking about, broken families. That really broke my heart. But mom got really angry. She got real bitter. And she started taking it out on me and my sister. And she would say things to me like, you'll never amount to anything. Boy, I'm sorry we ever had you. You disgust me. And see, my name is Knolly Alexander Williams Jr. My dad had the same name. So when she saw me, she saw him. She hated him. She hated me. That's the way it went. And I started to believe that. And so by the time I was 16, I had already dropped out of high school. I ran away from home. And I was out there on the streets. And I did that for 2 years. From the age of 16 to the age of 18, I was going from house to house to house, trying to find a place to stay, staying with my boys, hanging with the thugs, trying to hang with my homies. Because when I was 10 years old, we moved to South Central LA, and that was our life. And I had to start believing different things in order to start having different things. Now, by the time I was 18, I had a come to Jesus moment. Literally. Okay? A come to Jesus moment, literally. And I started to believe different things. And this is me just 6 months off the streets. Okay? I polished up, and look at me. I had a big Bible in my hand. I had a smile on my face and a song in my heart. And I still got that today. You still find me with a Bible in my hand, a song in my heart, and a smile on my face. Just a little bit older. And look at that book right above me. It's called Manage More by Doing Less. That's a book that was out on McGraw-Hill, came out in the 1960s before I was born. And my latest book just came out a couple months ago on that same publisher. And what's the topic? It's called 3 Hours a Day. It's all about teaching entrepreneurs how to make $250,000 or more a year, nights and weekends off, 4 to 5 vacations a year, being debt-free while working 3 hours a day. Okay? But in order for me to become that young man I was an office manager. Okay? Just a few months off the streets. Now, I always had the potential in me, but I didn't believe it. And the truth is, you are what you believe. This is me just 10 years later. Okay? I was just 30 years old in that picture. I was on the cover of Austin Chronicle. I had the world's #1 Christian rap label at the time. At this time right here, I was making $150,000 a month. I was making more as a 29-year-old than my mom. In a week, I made more than my mom ever made in a year. What you talking about? I ain't gonna be nothing. Now, I love you, Mom. Hey, I reconciled with my mom at 18 years old. Do not hold bitterness in your heart. There's no place for that. Always forgive, okay? Because you are what you believe. Now, you don't have to look very far to know what people believe. It shows up in everything that you do. It shows up in your mannerisms. It shows up in your way, your speech, your way of talking. It shows up it shows up in your brand, does it not? Yes. And the truth is, if you want to start having different things, see, here's the thing. We go to these conferences, and I love these conferences. How many of y'all love these conferences? Oh, yeah! I love it because we learn so many good things, but then we go home, and we sometimes don't implement. We don't take action. But the reality is that action is a result of habits. And habits are a result of what you believe. If you start to change what you believe, you start to change your habits, and you start to change everything. You start to change everything you have. I know many of you have done the same thing. Now, what happened to my slides? Okay, here we go. All right. You guys are getting a sneak peek. It's okay. Now, every choice that you have ever made has led you to right where you are and what you have and everything who's responsible for what you have right now? Me. Who's your best friend when it comes to getting everything you want in life? God Almighty. And who's your second best? You are. And who's your worst enemy when it comes to not? See, sometimes we come to these conferences and we don't implement because of the belief. It doesn't matter what you learn at these conferences. And I say learn a lot because I'm a lifelong learner. I read a book a week. I love to learn. But people say, well, I'm just going to implement. Well, you can't implement unless you believe. You got to believe first. Anybody tracking with this? Yeah. Now, if you can influence what you believe, you can change everything. You got to influence what you believe, what you have, where you live, and who you are. The brain has what we call neuroplasticity. Who's heard about this? We discovered this in 1890. Now, before 150 years ago, what we thought was that when you come into this realm, the same brain that you come in with is the same brain you go out with. And that's false. We've already debunked that. We know that's not true. DNA is the same, but not your brain. Look at this brain right here. This is after 2 weeks of stimulation, and then after 2 months. These are research studies. You can completely rewire your mind. Okay? Is it time for a remodel? You know, we love to look at before and afters, don't we? As Realty, we love that, boy. But here's the biggest remodel of all. It's time to remodel your mind. And you do that by changing what you believe. Let's talk about the 95-5 for a minute. We learned in science that 95% of the things that you do every day are autonomic. They happen with or without your participation. And in order to have what it is that you want, see, when we come to conferences like this, there is no conference like eXpCon. Can I get an amen? It's the best. And a lot of times when we come, we try to work on that top layer. Oh, I'm going to get some strategies. I'm going to get some tips, some tactics. I'm going to get a couple of little nuggets, and that's really good. But that's the top layer. If you really want to change it, you got to change what you believe. And the only way you can do that is by rewiring your mind. And the only way you can do that is by changing your subconscious mind. And the way you do that, let me give you a primer for that. Anybody want some ammunition for that? Yeah. A great book is The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Dr. Joseph Murphy. Dr. Joseph Murphy. Oh, it's stuff we don't want to read, but it's stuff that we need, right? It's stuff we need. I wrote the book 3 hours a day. It just came out very recently. All of you should have this in your library. And one of the things, oh, there you go. My man's got it. All right. No shame in it. But what we learned is that 10%, if you show me what you did yesterday, I will show you that 90% of the things you did yesterday, well, maybe not yesterday because you were at the conference, but last week, you take any day, 90% of what you did is not income producing. And the reality is 10% of the things that you do every day as an entrepreneur, as a real estate agent, are producing 90% of the results. And there's 90% of the things that can be cut out of your life if you begin to believe different, which will make you act different. Jesus said, therefore I tell you, whatever you ask in prayer, believe that you have, what? Received it. And it will be yours. So Jesus said, in order to receive, you gotta believe. And by the way, the word that Jesus used there is the word pisteo. What does pisteo mean? It means to fully rely in and fully rely on. So if Jesus said, hey, Knolly, do you believe in that chair? I wouldn't say yes. It's an action word. It's an adverb. If Jesus said, Knolly, do you believe in that chair? What I would do is I'd walk over to the chair and I'd sit down. You demonstrate your belief through action. Does that make sense? Yeah. It's an action word. Look at this. Think and grow rich. Whatever the mind of man or woman, okay, we'll put woman first, can conceive and believe it can achieve. Thoughts are things, and powerful things at that, when mixed with definiteness of purpose and burning desire, can be translated into what? Riches. That's what we want. How many of y'all don't want riches? Raise your hand if you want to be poor. I tried broke. I didn't like it. I like rich. And Earl, so what did he say? Well, hold on a second. What did he say? He said, in order to what? In order to achieve it, you have to believe it. And Earl Nightingale says, you become what you think about most of the time. We've got to change it at the subconscious level, and then all the tips, the tricks, the strategies, and the tactics that we're learning are actually this time going to take root and be able to be implemented because you are what you believe. I'm Knolly Williams. I appreciate your time, and you are what you believe. Let's go.